Hi, this is RGK and I'm showing you the Signal from Tölva game by Big Robot. And name is quite fitting because the Signal from Tölva has robots and the previous game as well, So You're Being Hunted. I didn't really enjoy So You're Being Hunted. I don't like open worlds, I don't like survival, and I don't like stealth, which were all the ingredients for So You're Being Hunted. The Signal from Tölva is also an open world, but things are quite different and I'll explain how. And also this is more like an exploration game in the vein of Stalker, so you have lots of things to explore and investigate, but it's very much based on combat and no stealth at all, so I really like this one much more. So open world games, I don't like them. First, because you have to usually spend hundreds of hours on them, well, at least like 50 to 100 hours, and I usually don't have that much time to spend on a single game. And also I don't like the feeling of wasting my time traveling from small place to small place and getting lost and doing small things, and I don't really know where I have to be and what I'm doing and so on. And you know, I'm used to 2D games like Metroidvanias, and for these games it's actually quite easy to say where things go wrong, like, oh yeah, lack of teleporter on this area of the map, or yeah, not enough checkpoints, or not enough save points, or this area has too many turns, or things like that. But for a 3D game it's actually harder to say what goes wrong and what goes right. So I'm gonna attempt to explain why I actually think that the Signal from Tölva is a very good open world game, and for once I enjoyed it despite really hating the genre. Well, first, I'm not gonna hide it, it's shorter, like you can finish the game in maybe 10 to 20 hours depending on the time you take, maybe even less, but it's not like 50 to 100 hours. But then it's actually quite a few systems that have been put together and that work really well, and I will try to describe. So first, maybe quickly on the story. So the main character, the player, is actually on a spaceship, and a signal has been detected from the planet Tölva, and so the player is sent to investigate, but not sent and dropping on the planet and then going on feet from there. It's more like hacking into the robots that are on the planet and possessing them, which is an elegant way to respawn in another robot when you die. So there are not quick saves, quick loads. When you die, you just select a robot from an area that you control, and then you just go in there into that robot, and everything is still the same as when you died. It's still going on, and you're not like going back in the past and attempt to do it again. No, you just go with it. So that's not why the game is good, just explaining a bit the respawn system and the robots. So now about that open world. When you start the game, you're at the bottom left corner, so it means you are not in the middle wondering if you have to choose between up, down, left, right. The choice is very simple at the beginning. It's more like you are in a ravine, like a canyon, and between two chains of mountains, so there is only one way, and that's how you learn the basics. And then there is a split, like you can choose to go, let's say, left or right, and it's gonna be a chain of mountains on the left or a chain of mountains on the right. So again, you're not lost. It's like some huge corridors that are more interesting than just a simple corridor, but it's not like you're just completely lost with like hundreds of places where you can go. Here you're pushed in some directions and you can feel what's behind you, what's in front of you, a sense of direction. And since you started at the bottom left, intuitively you know that your aim is to go to the top right. So there is like this kind of instinctive sense of knowing where to go, and it doesn't stop there. There are also some highlights on the map. You cannot see everything, but in your starting area you're gonna see a few things here and there, so you're gonna want to investigate and go to these icons on the map. But not everything is displayed, which means that on the way to a point of interest, you're gonna discover new points of interest. So you're not just following blindly the map is there to give you a purpose, and there, on the way, you're gonna have some sense of exploration and discovery when you're gonna uncover new things. So this is quite good, like a way to give you purpose, to push you somewhere without overwhelming you with tons of icons everywhere, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna collect them all. Then another thing is that there are different factions waging war. So for instance, the yellow robots are the faction of the player, then the blue ones and the red ones. And you can respawn in your bunkers or your beacons. And so it means that you will want to capture some areas to have like some forward points to respawn. So it gives you some kind of objectives that you can decide for yourself. Actually, you just need to right click anywhere on the map and it gives you a waypoint that is displayed on the heads-up display on the HUD. So it's very simple. You want to go there, you yourself create your own mission, like to capture this and so on. But for instance, if there is a bunker you want to capture, you might want to go first a little bit farther, so you get an easy beacon, so you can respawn more quickly to the bunker, or you can choose to directly go for the bunker and then walk a bit more if you die. But you never have to walk too much as long as you capture points here and there. It's not actually necessary to fight to progress in the game, but it just makes it easier if you capture forward respawn points. So the aim of the game is to investigate the signal, and you're gonna collect many like smaller useless, well not really, but smaller signals on the way, and these give you points, like experience if you will. And some areas are gated. You cannot go past certain points because there are radiations, and it's also a way to block your path, such as in Metroidvanias. You're gonna need a specific power, so you're gonna have to find this power somewhere. But here in the Signal from Tölva, you just need to collect a few signals here and there, and then you can improve your armor so you can survive the radiations, and then you can get past the block. So it's a very smart way of gating you without needing for you to go to a specific point. You can just like linger at the bottom right or at the top left. You just spend some time there, uncover a few signals, and here you're upgraded and you can move forward. So it's a very good way to gate, and it's also very logical from, as I said again, from the bottom left to the top right. So the game design is very elegant because it's pushing you in a direction but without actually telling you where to go. So in the end it becomes very instinctive for the player to know what they have to do, where they're going, where they're from, and so on. They don't get lost, and all of this without hand-holding, just subtly designing the open world in a smart way. So this is a very elegant level design or game design, and I really like this about this game, and that's why I didn't bounce off the Signal from Tölva despite it being an open world and me not liking these games. So I said before, it's a lot about exploration, so you're gonna see a lot of derelict spaceships or abandoned machinery and so on. And here comes a little bit of a problem in the sense that robots are making all of this fit together and be elegant and so on, but there is something that robots don't have that organic matter or like human or monster creatures have. It's some sense of the unknown, like a fear of the unknown. In Stalker, you're not really sure what you're gonna see next, like what kind of radiating monstrosities and what kind of mutants. Here, you're not really having a sense of dread because it's just robots. You know, you're not suddenly gonna see something like really crazy coming at you. It's just gonna be a mechanical thing, and that's really one of the main downsides of these games for having robots. Then let's talk a bit about the rest of the game, like the shooting, the engine and so on. So the game is quite pretty, as you can see, and it runs very smoothly, no problem. You can change the field of view, you can rebind all your keys and so on. So technically, very good, no problem. Then for the shooting itself. So there is first one little thing that is really good that they did in this game. I have a problem with many games that start you very underpowered, but in a way that is boring. You just start with an awful pistol, like in the recent Doom game, and for a while it's not very fun until you finally get good weapons, and then you can enjoy yourself. Here in the Signal from Tölva, right from the beginning you have some kind of sniper laser, and the sound of this is really good, like you can hear it resonating through the valley. So you already start with a cool weapon that allows you to engage from a distance, so you're not feeling like a snail at the beginning, dragging your way across the start. Here, from the beginning, the shooting is alright, but then it never gets completely crazy. I mean, it's just stiff robots fighting you, and they don't roll, and you yourself don't roll or lean or do crazy things. And when I was playing, it kind of reminded me of MechWarrior 2 with the movements and the lasers and so on. So kind of an old game, a bit stiff. But still, there are some really good points for the Signal from Tölva, which is that the AI can be quite good. Like, you're fighting most of the time against enemy squads, and you will see a few of them going back and trying to get a good vantage point on the distance to snipe you, while some others are flanking you. So when you're going into combat, what's really important is to prepare yourself by marking the enemies with your binoculars, and then they are displayed on your HUD. Otherwise, they can surprise you and be really deadly, like if they catch you while you're reloading, because the reloading times take ages in this game. So the combats are really tactical. You need to think about what you're doing, like prepare a tactic, scout a bit, and then finally, on your terms, you engage into combat, and not when you're taken by surprise. This can be really deadly. And then the combat can be really fun when you have several factions like going at each other. Like for instance, one is going to attack the other at the same time as you, and then your own faction is hearing the gunshots and comes to investigate and takes part in the fight. Can be really cool to have all of these like emerging gameplay situations, because most of the time it's really not scripted. I don't know if there are scripts. Maybe sometimes dropships come at a specific moment, but otherwise it just feels like it's natural, like it's what Stalker was aiming for. And then in the combat itself, you have a shield, so the shield reloads fairly quickly, and the enemies suddenly start having shields as well, and then it can become quite difficult. So if you're not very good at shooting, this might be a problem, even though I think that you don't actually need to shoot to finish the game. You probably can just investigate the signals and avoid the bunkers, or if there is an ambush, you just go away or respawn and that's it. But if you like tactical games, and if you like analyzing the terrain and picking off a few enemies from distance before going in close combat, then you might enjoy this, even if it's a bit stiff. But robots, it's like the Chewbacca defense for this whole game. Robots, all the good points and bad points can be summed to robots. That's why it's stiff, that's why it's a bit dry, but that's also why it works so well. In the negatives, I will add the lack of variety with the robots. So we are fighting 3 different factions. I mean, there are 3 different factions, and all the robots are kind of the same. I'm surprised that the design wasn't different between the factions besides the color, and it lacks a bit of craziness in what you're fighting. Always the same stiff standing robots, instead of having, I don't know, like some that are crawling, or some with jump jets or any other thing. And later on there are a few new things that appear, such as dropships with lots of lasers or drones that you have to shoot in the sky, but it ends up being too little too late. It's more the robots themselves that they've been to see different types rather than just shield and no shield. And another problem is that I mentioned earlier that you have slow reloading times and you only can carry 2 weapons on yourself. There is a specific new weapon that you can acquire which lets you control some allied robots, but it replaces one of the 2 slots and you cannot really afford that. You want your 2 weapons, otherwise if you cut reloading you're dead, and the robots that come and help you can die very quickly, so it's not so useful and it's not very easy to use as well. So I think it should have replaced the base pistol. This is the only unelegant design decision that they've seen in this game, which is to not have this weapon replace the pistol, because the pistol is completely useless. The melee attack is also very useless. You cannot like crush down their spine or rip off their heads or something like that. So yeah, the melee is not very good. And there is a bit of lack of feedback when you're shooting enemy robots with the main weapons, like it lacks blood or at least other mechanical parts going off. At least the headshots are quite good, but the rest doesn't make you feel like you're in a very nervous shooter, which isn't what the game was going for. So I guess it's okay, but could have been a bit better in that direction. Like could have, I don't know, taken off the arms of the enemy robots so they have troubleshooting or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, in the end, I really enjoyed my time with the Signal from Tölva. I was surprised because a lot of people really dislike it and think, yeah, the combat is really not good and so on. But yeah, okay, there are open world games that are more fun, more explosions and like Far Cry and so on. But this is a different experience, more towards like exploration and being tactical rather than just going guns crazy. And I know it's not a game for everyone, but I really enjoyed it, and every time I was not playing it I was thinking, oh, when is next time I can get back in that universe and make my faction progress, because I really liked that I was myself designing the missions. It's actually more like the devs pushed me into going this direction or the other, but I still felt like it was my decision. I was making my own adventure, and that's something that I really quite liked about this one. I didn't feel like the game was forced on me. It was me that was like connecting with the game, and mostly because of that very elegant game design. This is really its strong point. Yeah, it might not be a game for everyone, but for me it was a good game. So yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye bye.